I invite you to join me over in Romans chapter 14 as we begin a four-part series called This or That. There's an old proverb, now you will have heard it differently, but you would have heard an old proverb that said, you cannot eat your cake and have it too. Now, I grew up understanding it flipped. You can't have your cake and eat it too. When I began looking that proverb up, early on it was actually flipped the other way. Logistically, flipped the other way is actually more accurate. You can't eat your cake and have it too. Now, we may say, well, sure I can, because when I eat it, I got it, right? Unfortunately, if I eat a cupcake, I'm going to have it for a lot of years. But what's being said here is this, that I can't eat it and also be able to possess it and look at it and turn it over and just have that on a shelf. I can either eat it and I can enjoy it, or I can just look at it, but I can't do both things because once I have eaten it, it is gone. It's changed and it's never going to come back like it used to be. When we begin to look at other areas in our lives, we're going to see that this is true. We understand this. We may not fully agree at times, but I think we're going to begin to understand that. For example, you can't talk about somebody behind their back and still be friends. We get that. We get that. Those of you in school get that a lot. You can't blow your whole check and still go buy groceries. Yeah, I'm hearing some of the... You can't sleep around and be considered faithful. Jesus would say it in this way, you can't serve both God and possessions. You got to pick. He would also say, you're either against me or you're for me. You can't do both at the same time. And this is this or that. That's what we're talking about. It's this or that. So today's truth is this. You can either stir things up or you can settle things down. But you can't do both. And you can't be the person that tries to do both. You're one or the other. And whether that's at home or at work or at school or at church or in the booster club or whatever it is that you're a part of, you can either be the pot stirrer or you can be the one that settles things down. And you can't be both. And sometimes you may say, well, what does it really matter? Well, it matters because in a world of brokenness, we seek places of wholeness. In a world of brokenness, we seek wholeness. And we may not say that out loud all the time, but we yearn for wholeness. When you go to work and it's broken, at home and it's broken, and you go out and it's broken. When the world is broken, in a world of brokenness that we face every day, there's something deep within us that wells up from time to time and says, I just want things to be right today. 5 minutes into the day, your calendar's shot, and all you can think about is, I just wanted one day. In a world of chaos, we seek places of peace. We get chaos. We understand chaos, and we just want peace. I remember the Seinfeld episode, Serenity Now. You know, just a moment, please. Dulcie's mom is famous for having said when the three kids were young and growing up, I just want 5 minutes. Just give me 5 minutes. And she would close the door, and it would be about 30 seconds. In a world of hate, we seek places of love. We are inundated with hate everywhere we go, and we seek places of love. In a world of grief and loss and pain, we seek places of relief. What's at stake? Why does it matter? Because in a world of lies, we seek places of truth. And in a world of consumption, we seek places of contribution. We face this every day. There are things within us that that come up and they well up, and we want wholeness and peace and rest, and we want all of these things, and we look around everywhere and we can't find it. And so when we come to a place like this, we may ask ourselves, what's the purpose? Why does it really matter? Why is this message important to me? What's at stake for that? Why does it matter if I stir things up or I settle things down? Here's why it matters today. Because the unity of the church and the reputation in the community is at stake. The unity of the church and the reputation in the community. This is true whatever church you attend, wherever you might go. It's true here, it's true there, it's true in any of God's churches. It is true that if we don't get this right, the unity of the church and the reputation in the community are what's at stake. We've heard stories, we've read reports, we have friends and family that have been in churches that are nothing but discord, that they're nothing but a fight. Everything's a fight. It doesn't matter what it is, they're going to fight about it. And those are the churches nobody really wants to go to, right? I don't go to church for a fight, do you? I go to church to find wholeness and peace and rest and encouragement and strength and family. That's why I go. That's why it is so important that we understand what God desires for us. We stir it up or we settle it down. And this is the point that we're looking at. See, those who by nature or choice may be stirring things up are not living out the gospel. That's not what we do as believers. It's not our job to stir things up. Our job is to bring peace and harmony through the power of God. And we begin in our space and let that flow out of our space into spaces that we go to every day. And we bring love and harmony because why? Everywhere we go, it's broken. Everywhere we go, it's chaotic. Everywhere we seem to go, we have all of these issues. And God is calling us to bring wholeness and peace and rest and strength and love to all the places that we go. Before we as believers and followers of Jesus Christ think that our job ends when we exit the door, let me correct us all and say our job really begins when I exit the door. I come in here broken. I come in here wounded. I come in here bruised. I come in here just as the week left me. But I get to leave by the power of God. I get to leave in the power of God. And I get to go be a change maker when I leave this place because of my time I spent in this place. So we look at what's going on in Rome. When we look at Romans chapter 14, we're going to be in 14 and 15 throughout this series. Paul has written a wonderful theological letter to the church at Rome. And as he's concluding it up, he begins to share some very practical applications. So let's look and see what's going on at Rome. Verse 1. Accept anyone who is weak in faith, but don't argue about disputed matters. One person believes he may eat anything, while one who is weak eats only vegetables. One who eats must not look down on the one who doesn't eat, and the one who doesn't eat must not judge the one who does, because God has accepted him. Who are you to judge another's household servant? Before his own Lord he stands or falls, and he will stand, because the Lord is able to make him stand. One person judges one day to be more important than another day, and someone else judges every day to be the same. Let each one be fully convinced in his own mind. Whoever observes the day, observe it for the honor of the Lord. And whoever eats, eat for the Lord, since he gives thanks to God. And whoever doesn't eat, it's for the Lord, that he doesn't eat it, and he gives thanks to God. For none of us lives for himself, and no one dies for himself. So what we find here going on in the church at Rome. First, people are arguing over a variety of issues. People are arguing over various kinds of issues. What we need to begin to understand is that the church was never meant to be a a cozy club of like-minded people of a single race or a single economic background or a single social strata. The church was never designed to be one little snippet of a community. It is designed to be representative of a whole community, and we need to be reaching out to a whole community, and this is what Paul is getting at. We need to not create obstacles and barriers for the wholeness of a community to come to faith in Christ, to come to worship God together, and to be a part of this kind of situation. One of the difficulties the church has always had and has always faced is that it has included members that are rich and poor, tall and short, fat and slim, and everything else in between. The church has faced these difficulties over the years. Why? Because we somehow begin to think, and I believe it's by the pressure and temptation of the devil, that my way is better than your way. And on the other side of the coin, they're saying, well, my way is better than your way, and we don't give room to breathe any longer. You go back to the first argument that was in the early church, weeks into this thing. And they're already arguing over, well, they get more than I do. And it fell across racial lines. The Jewish widows and the Greek widows, and then they're frustrated because they think one's getting more than another and one's getting, more attention than the other. And the reality is, Peter says, look, fix this. And he assigns some guys to go fix it. And ultimately what they're doing is, I need unity in this place. So you guys go fix that. Peter said, I got to spend time in the Word and prayer, and I've got this responsibility to do, and I can't do this and that, so you guys go fix that. And that was weeks in. Now we're years into it, and it hasn't changed much. They're still fighting over a variety of issues. What's allowable to eat in verse 2 and 3? What can I eat? What can't I eat? Well, if I go down to the marketplace, can I eat that or can I not eat that? Because if this particular food, if it was sacrificed to an idol that's not God, and now they're selling it, am I able to buy it? Can I eat that meat or can I not eat that meat? This is a real issue. And so you've got some people saying, it's not a big deal. And you got other people going, I don't know. Man, I just want to be holy and I want to be right. And I don't think it's proper to eat that meat if it's sacrificed to an idol. And these other people are like, I don't think it really matters. And instead of giving space for both to live together in the same place, they begin to fight. And they begin to say, oh, but you're not as holy as I am because you eat that meat. And the other saying, oh, you're not as holy as I am because I have more freedom than you do. Stop being legalistic. And all they did was start to argue, fuss, and fight over what they could or couldn't eat. And Paul is saying, look, it's important to both of you learn to respect each other's position and realize that it's not worth the fight, and it's not worth disunity and a poor reputation in the community to fight over that. And if you want to fight over whether Jesus really died, well, come on, let's go. If you want to fight over whether he rose from the dead literally or not, I'm in, let's go. We're in it. But we're going to fight over what we can and can't eat? Come on, guys, seriously. Learn to respect that everybody's at a different point in the journey. If you have more than one child that you raised, you understand this completely. Because the older child is older and gets to do some things, and the younger child is like, hey, but wait, what's up? Well, how come they get to do that and I can't do that? Well, my grades are better than their grades, so how come they get to do that and I can't? Y'all have these arguments. Come on now. And what do we say? We tell them, they're further down the road than you. And maybe it was they're 10 and you're 8, or maybe they're 18 and you're 16, or maybe they're 21 and you're not. But deal with it. And that's how you go at your house, how it goes at my house. Come on, guys, deal with it. Of course, we use the phrase, suck it up, buttercup, but that's just in my house. So I don't know about your house. I just about my house. So what can we eat? What days can we observe? What days can we observe? Well, well, we like this day, but they worship that day in a different way. So can we honor that day or not honor that day? It's a festival of the moon, and I don't know, can we do that? Can we not do that? And we need to give ourselves some space to breathe for people on a different part of the journey. There certainly is moments of instruction. I'm further down the journey than you. Let me help you. Let me instruct you. Let me equip you with some knowledge. Okay? But that's one attitude. But that's not the attitude being faced here. The attitude that's coming out is, I'm further down the road. Why are you still so stupid? That's what's going on. I can't believe you're still messed up in the head this way. Do you not see it yet? And the other ones are like, okay, I hate you too. I mean, so this is going on, and Paul's like, come on. It's not about that. Stop stirring it up. Learn to live together in harmony. Learn to love one another in spite of differences that are not primary issues of difference. He says it. Don't argue about disputed matters. He's not talking about God as creator. He's not talking about Jesus as the divine Son of God. He's not talking about Jesus dying on a cross. He's not talking about rising from the dead. He's not talking about really being buried for 3 days. He's not talking about that. He's not talking about Jesus is the only way to have eternal life with God and forgiveness of your sin. He's saying days and things to eat. Not primary, these are secondary kinds of things. Don't argue over things that are disputed. Don't argue about things that both sides can prove if they want to, but don't necessarily affect the gospel message of Jesus Christ. Because we're at different spaces and places of maturity and growth in Christ. I would not expect a child and an adult to be at the same place of maturity. Sadly, I find it sometimes, but that's not the point. I don't expect it to happen. Why? Because they are on different points of the journey. And what an adult can do and what a child should be allowed to do are different. It doesn't make one or the other wrong, it makes them different. And just as a parent and a child learn to love and respect and unify together, so does every church that wants to honor God in this respect. We learn to give space over things that are not of primary concern, such as the gospel. So you have people that are making judgments about others. Maybe they felt that they were better than others in verse 4. Who are you to judge another's household servant? Or they begin to divide themselves over a variety of issues. In verse 10, but you, why do you judge your brother or sister? Or you, why do you despise your brother or sister? For we will all stand before the judgment seat of God. So what does Paul tell them to do? Here's what Paul tells them to do. Don't reject them, receive them. Don't reject them, receive them. This is what Paul is telling them to do. First, he says, I want you to welcome them because God has welcomed them. Verse 2, one person believes he may eat anything, while one who is weak only eats vegetables. And you go on down into verse 3, because God has accepted them. Believers are both of these units. The people that want to eat, the people that don't want to eat. The people that want to observe a day, the people that don't want to observe a day. They're both believers. He said, look, God has accepted them both. You need to learn to work that out in a way that is in harmony and respect for one another. And I could walk down the line of current issues that face every church. I don't want to, but I could. And you know them because you've heard them over the course of time. And unfortunately, in today's culture, it tends to fall along some generational lines. And we have got to, as a church that's going to move forward, a church that will love people to help them move forward, a church that's going to grow in all of that's going on in our own community, a church that's going to reach the community, has to be the model of unity in a community in a world that's divided. We have to be the model that says, we have differences, but I love you anyway. I'm different than you, but I love you. You're different than me, but I love you. We don't see eye to eye on everything, and that's okay, as long as the primary is the same. Because this is the trap of the devil. He comes in and causes us to fight over all kinds of stupid stuff. You know, is it blue or is it orange? Is it pews or is it chairs? Is it brick or is it not? Is the piano on this side or that side? Do we have this or do we have that? And the devil traps us in those things. And he stirs stuff up. Three bulls fed in a field together. And they did every day, and they fed together every day, and a lion waited out on the outskirts of the field. And he was hungry, and he wanted to attack and get a bull, but he knew he couldn't do it. Because they always fed together, all three of those bulls, they would always feed together, and the lion sat on the outside, and he just waited, and he crouched, and he thought, and he contemplated, and he said, what am I going to do? And so this is what he did. He began to work behind the scenes to cause division among them, to separate one out, or to separate another one out, or to put something in the process that caused the bulls that used to be together to somehow separate out. And as he would get one to separate off to one side, he got him. And then he would have these two, and if he got one to separate off to the side, he got him. And his whole job, in order to attack and get what he wanted, his whole job was, if I could just drop and drip in some problems and some disagreements and some disunity, and if I could just drop in some things and cause them to divide, then I've got them. The Bible says that the devil prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. And he's stopping in at our church. And he's stopping in at the church down the road. And he's stopping in at another church. The devil has better attendance than half of church members today. Because he's here every day. He's here every week. Seeking whom he might devour. Finding that group of people that he can just drop in some things. And they can rise up and they can start to divide out. And then he's got them. That's what he wants. And if he can get you or me or somebody else to just do his bidding for a moment, to take a secondary or a tertiary perspective, that third string, fourth string, walk-on idea, and say, oh, but this is of utmost importance. And then suddenly you've got, no, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. And suddenly the devil's just going, come on, I need one more time. Just one more time. One more and I got you. One more and you're mine. So you can either stir it up or you can settle it down. That's the choice given to every one of us. Which are we going to choose? See, the quarrels of friends are the opportunities for foes. So how do I settle things down? Choose the right response. Choose the right response. Stop basing your decisions on your emotions. It's easy. We get all wound up, or we get hurt, and we then base all of our decisions on our emotions. Stop doing that. Make good, proper, prayerfully considered responses instead of reactionary techniques. Choose the right facts to believe. How do I settle things down? I choose the right response. Secondly, I choose the right facts to believe. Stop basing decisions on rumors. Well, I heard. Okay, just stop right there. Well, somebody told me. If a person comes to me and says, hey, preacher, I always, first of all, when they start that way, it's always intriguing. Hey, preacher. Yes? Somebody told me. Hey, a few of us got together. Give me names. Give me the story. Where are the facts in that? I've been doing this long enough. It happens, guys. It happens. I just don't want it to happen here. Choose the right time to speak. Choose the right time to speak. You realize sometimes it's okay just to keep our mouth closed? You know, there's a proverb, Abraham Lincoln is quoted for it, but there's a proverb that says, it's better to keep your mouth shut and be thought a fool than to open it and remove all doubt. Just saying. Choose the right thing to read. Oftentimes, social media should not be the first thing that crosses your eyes or the last. I'm not saying not to. I'm saying don't let it affect you so dramatically. Choose the right course of action. Your challenge this week is to read Matthew 18. You have a problem with somebody, Facebook's not your answer. You got a problem with somebody, texting your BFF about that's not the answer. You have a problem with an individual, you go to the individual. Don't email the individual. That's the coward's way out. You have a problem with somebody, you look them in the eye and say, I have a problem, can we talk about it? Well, I don't like ... And then it's on them to respond in grace and mercy. But just because they disagree doesn't make them the enemy. Choose the right course of action. And choose the right source of satisfaction. Getting your way will not bring you the satisfaction that you're looking for. You may get your way once or twice, and then you think it's a habit. I always get my way. That's the Baptist way. If we do it twice, we've always done it. We need to start looking to God for our satisfaction. For it is written, as I live, says the Lord, every knee will bow to me, every tongue will give praise to God. So then each of us will give an account of himself to God. You can stir things up or you can settle things down, but you cannot do both. It's one or it's the other. And there are many, many people who are good at stirring things up in our minds and in our hearts. We watch them, we listen to them, we vote for or against them, but they have a way of stirring us up, and they constantly stir us up, and it creates within us a spirit of dissension and a spirit of anger, and it is time that we set that aside for the peace and rest and security and family and forgiveness that God provides, and get our satisfaction from Him and not from the things of this world. Aren't you tired of wasting time and energy on those who do nothing but stir things up in your life? Aren't you tired of having them constantly stirring stuff up in your life? Step away. I try to help people understand. I've tried to help my kids understand. In Jesus, I love them, but I don't have to like them. I tried to help those in rehab understand the same thing. They may be your mama, but if she's been your enabler, you can love your mama, but you don't have to like how she's been helping you stay on your drug problem. You may love that brother of yours, but as long as he's stirring up the nest in your home, you don't have to like him, but you got to love him. But I may not like you right now. There's a whole world of difference. Aren't you tired of allowing people to stir you up? Aren't you tired of having all that energy wasted on just being angry? Aren't you ready for something different? Aren't you ready for some kind of hope? Aren't you ready for some kind of healing? Aren't you ready for some kind of new life, new opportunity, new day ahead? My friends, it is this or it's that. It is life or it is death. It is hope or it is hurt. It is peace or it's chaos. It's broken or it's mended. But just as I am, I can come to my Holy Father and He will make it right. It's this or that. Which are you?